Hey friends, welcome to the next episode of Loss Ratio Talks About Insurance while he tries to catch a fish. So if you missed the first episode, you may want to go back on my LinkedIn timeline and find that and watch it first. Essentially, I kind of outlined some of the different dynamics currently at play in the underwriting inspection space, specifically around personal lines, but a lot of the same dynamics are happening on the commercial side as well. And I got a lot of great feedback on that episode. A lot of really good questions were asked in the comments. So I wanted to go ahead and address a couple of those questions. And I think perhaps the most pressing question, the biggest question that I hear most often when I'm talking to folks about self-inspection is this: can I really trust my policyholders to be honest with me and provide clear, accurate pictures of their property?
Can I trust you?
Or are my policyholders going to take advantage of the opportunity to misrepresent their property, try to pull the wool over the eyes of underwriting, ultimately commit some level of fraud by deliberately hiding things that they would not want their insurance carrier to know about? And first, I just have to say, this is a very valid question. There's a good one. That is a chunky monkey. And in full transparency, that was probably the biggest question on my mind when we first built our self-inspection platform nearly 6 years ago. You see, we've been performing underwriting field inspections using independent contractor inspectors for over 2 decades. We've seen millions of these property inspections. And so the idea of not having a disinterested third-party inspector on site who really has zero motivation to misrepresent anything is, quite frankly, a little bit scary. And so that's what really prompts that question. Can I trust my policyholders to be honest? So what I'm about to share with you is not just my opinion. This is based on personal experience and fact. We've now processed over 500,000 self-inspections. And so we've got great data to back up what I'm about to share with you. So the answer to the question is yes. 99.8% of the time, policyholders are going to be extremely transparent and they're going to take high quality photos of anything and everything that you ask them to, regardless of whether or not what's visible in those photos has an impact on their policy. Now, it's important to add that full transparency caveat here. You'll notice I said 99.8%. If anyone ever tells you that introducing self-inspection into an underwriting workflow does not create the opportunity for a policyholder to be less than honest, obviously they're not being honest with you.
I knew you was lying. I knew you was lying, man.
Yes, self-inspection absolutely does introduce the opportunity for a policyholder to misrepresent their property. But what our experience and data now shows is that 99.8% of policyholders are not going to take advantage of that opportunity. So why is that? Is it because 99.8% of policyholders have zero proclivity to be dishonest? No. Is it because every single policyholder wants to accurately represent their property so that they're accurately covered? Possibly, but certainly not every policyholder. So let me share with you the primary reason. One singular word: naive.
Who's being naive, Kay?
The average homeowner, the average policyholder is extremely naive regarding property underwriting. There's a fish, another good one. That's a nice fish. It is extremely easy for me as an insurance professional, and maybe for some of you as well, because we eat, sleep, and breathe insurance every single day, to kind of lose sight of the fact that the average consumer knows little to nothing about insurance and really has very little desire to know anything about it. And so even the term underwriting to a vast majority of consumers is just a foreign concept. So the reality is most consumers just flat out do not know what underwriting is, or what's going to be happening with the photos that they're taking and submitting, or what may or may not be a concern to an underwriter regarding their home and property. We're receiving thousands and thousands of policyholder photos every single day now, and it never ceases to amaze me what policyholders gladly take photos of and submit to their insurance carrier. Every possible liability hazard, from trampolines to missing handrails to empty pools, you name it, we've received photos of them from policyholders. Missing shingles, broken windows, boarded doors, peeling paint, dry rot. We've seen it all in self-inspection photos. Why? Because policyholders just do not understand the process.
I don't understand this.
But what about that very tiny percentage of policyholders who maybe do understand the process, and for whatever reason, they are motivated to try to misrepresent their property. Because again, that opportunity is very real. Well, on a very practical level, the first thing I would say is there are a lot of general self-inspection photo requirements that, quite frankly, are pretty hard to purposely misrepresent. If you're asking a policyholder to take a photograph of the front of their home, well, then they're going to take a photograph of the front of their home. 95% of the time, and I'm not just making up that figure, this is based on real data and experience, 95% of the time, your policyholders are going to take crystal clear, high-quality photos of everything that you ask them to. Now, someone who wanted to try to be dishonest and game the system certainly could take a photograph of the front of the neighbor's house. We've seen that a time or two, but this is easily caught and flagged through geolocation metadata, so not really a concern. In just over 500,000 cases now, we've actually identified 2 specific scenarios where a policyholder successfully provided photos of the wrong property. In both of those scenarios, a policyholder was standing at the side of their house. They turned around and took a photograph of the neighbor's roof instead of taking a photograph of their own roof. Their roof was in poor condition. They knew it was in poor condition. They subsequently tried to file a claim for the pre-existing damage that was on their roof. Now, in both of these cases, the carriers were successfully able to deny those fraudulent claims.
We simply deny them that.
But again, keep in mind, these situations are extremely rare. Now, before we move on, I do want to cover one other point related to this. What about digitally altered photos using Gen AI or some other similar technology? This is also a very valid question and something that we should all be concerned about. As this technology continues to evolve and the availability of it skyrockets to the point where now if you have one of the newest smartphones, you can literally take a photo and on your phone tap on something and have it disappear from a photo. The level of expertise required to digitally alter photos is dropping dramatically. So, could a policyholder attempt to submit a digitally altered photo as a part of their self-inspection? Well, yes, obviously they absolutely could. So for instance, let's say we ask a policyholder to take a photo of their rear yard. They have a trampoline in the rear yard, they snap the photo, they use one of these readily available AI tools to remove the trampoline from the photo, and voila, no more liability hazard that the carrier is aware of. This could obviously also be applied to physical damage concerns with property. Digital repairs to roofs could be made that haven't actually been made in the real world. So how do you combat this? Well, there's currently 2 different ways to combat this, and they're both technology solutions. The first is a technology solution on a very practical level, having tight technological controls around the photo capture process. And this is one of the ways we like to handle it within our self-inspection platform. And what this means is within the self-inspection app itself, when you're prompting a user to snap a photo of their property, you're not allowing users to upload existing photos. In other words, when a user taps the button to take a front photo, the app automatically launches the camera on the phone and does not allow them access to their existing camera roll or photo gallery. So the only way that a user can technically upload a photo to meet the photo requirements of the self-inspection is to take current photos in real time as they're completing the self-inspection. There's a fish. Oh, I lost him. This completely removes the ability for a user to snap a photo and then digitally alter it before uploading it. Again, this is a technology solution within the self-inspection app itself. So that's the first method that we found extremely effective. The second method is what I like to refer to as fighting fire with fire. There are AI models that you can run uploaded photos through that will detect any digital altering that has taken place on a photo. So if a user does somehow manage to upload a digitally altered photo, that photo can be instantly run through one of these AI models that will detect if there are signs of that photo being digitally altered, and it can be flagged for human review and analysis. And finally, the last thing that I want to mention here as it relates to the question of, can I trust my policyholders to be honest? It's the simple reality that when it comes to underwriting, the inherent incentives for a policyholder to commit fraud are drastically lower than it is on the claims side. Now, I'm not saying that fraud doesn't exist or that the opportunity doesn't exist with underwriting. It absolutely does. However, when you think about the direct financial incentive on the claims side, it's a completely different ballgame. So even if a policyholder was knowledgeable enough about the underwriting process to intentionally try to mislead their carrier by strategically taking photos to misrepresent their property or digitally altering photos to misrepresent their property, the direct financial incentive to do that is extremely low. On the claims side, people are intentionally committing fraud to attempt to collect tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that dynamic is just not at play on the underwriting side. So this brings me to perhaps the most compelling data point that our experience with self-inspection has revealed. Because we have data on millions, many millions of field inspections completed by third-party independent contractor inspectors in the field. And now we have data on many hundreds of thousands of self-inspections completed by policyholders. We're actually able to compare large data sets against each other so we can easily and accurately compare the effectiveness of property field inspections with property self-inspections. And I've got to say, the results from this analysis are fascinating. And I'm going to share all of that data with you in the next episode. Thanks for watching.
It's a hard market now. What you gonna do? You got reinsurance issues, LOC from Best Stew. Your capacity is shrinking. Paper